Laughter, footsteps, and chatter, but in the middle of it all, one girl walked with her head down, clutching her books tightly against her chest. Her name was Amina. She was the kind of girl who never raised her voice, never tried to be noticed, and always avoided attention. But sometimes, no matter how much you try to disappear, the world has a way of pulling you into the spotlight, especially when bullies are watching. A group of loud students stood near the lockers. They noticed Amina's shy, quiet steps. With smirks spreading across their faces, they exchanged glances as if they had found their next target. One of them whispered, "She's too quiet. Let's have some fun." And just like that, Amina's nightmare began. They called out her name, mocking her soft voice, mimicking the way she walked. Another snatched the book from her hands and held it high above her head while she stood frozen, staring at the floor, too shy and too afraid to speak up. Their laughter echoed in the hallway like cruel music. Students walking by noticed but chose silence. It wasn't their problem. For Amina, though, this humiliation cut deeper than words could describe. She wanted the ground to swallow her whole. But deep inside, something stirred. Amina had been holding in years of silence, years of being pushed aside, ignored, and underestimated. That day, when they laughed at her, she felt something snap inside her heart. She decided she would no longer let anyone define her worth. Still, change didn't come overnight. Amina walked home with tears in her eyes, her heart heavy with embarrassment. But when she entered her small room, surrounded by her sketchbooks, her secret strength came alive. Drawing had always been her escape, her hidden world where she was strong, powerful, and fearless. She stayed up that night sketching, pouring her pain onto paper, creating images of herself not as the timid girl from school but as a warrior. Someone who stood tall, unshaken, and unbreakable. The next day, she returned to school with her sketchbook hidden in her bag. When the bullies tried to mock her again, Amina didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she looked at them directly for the first time. That stare, calm yet filled with fire, caught them off guard. They were used to her silence, her bowed head, her trembling hands. But this time, her silence wasn't fear, it was strength. Things took a dramatic turn when one of the teachers announced an art competition that week. The winner's work would be displayed at the city exhibition. Everyone in class submitted something, but when Amina's name was called, whispers spread like wildfire. "She's too shy, she won't even show her work," the bullies sneered. But Amina walked to the front of the class, her sketchbook in her hands. Her heart raced, but she took a deep breath and opened the pages. What her classmates saw left them speechless. Her drawings were breathtaking, filled with emotion and power. One sketch showed a small girl standing in a storm, unshaken, while shadows mocked her, but in the background, the same girl rose like a giant, her strength towering over the bullies. The room went silent. Even the bully stared with wide eyes, suddenly feeling smaller than ever. For the first time, everyone saw Amina for who she truly was, a girl who had been silent, but never weak. Her talent, her courage, and her spirit shone brighter than any insult thrown her way. The bullies who had mocked her just days before now felt the sting of shame. They whispered apologies, stumbling over their words, begging her to forgive them. But Amina didn't need their approval anymore. She had found her own power. She simply looked at them, her voice steady as she said, "You can laugh at me if you want, but it won't change who I am." The entire class clapped for her, and from that moment, things changed. Amina went on to win the art competition. Her work was celebrated, and she finally stepped into the light she had been hiding from for so long. The bullies learned a lesson they would never forget: strength doesn't always roar, it sometimes hides in silence, waiting for the right moment to rise. And Amina's story became an inspiration, showing everyone that even the shyest voices have the power to change the world. Sparkle's message of the story: never underestimate someone because of their silence. The quietest people often hold the strongest hearts, and when they rise, the world has no choice but to listen.